Here's a game that you haven't heard in a long time, Snowbreak Containment Zone. You should honestly play it. I got in this game months ago, like around its initial release, I believe right before. It was terrible, I'm not gonna lie. The guide at least. The game itself was quite fine, I just didn't get attached to it early on. But now I'm playing it. This is my account. Found a few operatives that I do enjoy. Journo, for instance, and her 5-star variation specifically. Fridia, or Frisha, Acacia, Cirrus, Makshir, and Life, at least the 5-star variation, but I continuously will refer to her as Lif, and I have no idea why. Either way, I've legitimately been having fun with this game. And especially early on as a new player, there's so much that you can do. If you're going through main story specifically, you can level up extremely quickly, and so you always have the stamina to go through and spend on either the story stages or either operations to pre-farm for materials that you're going to need later on, dispatch, which I've actually enjoyed a little bit, but I've just unlocked tactical evaluation. I've primarily been spending my time with this underground purge, which is basically Abyss. Neurosimulation was very fun, especially given that neurosimulation is essentially co-op. Paradoxical Labyrinth, it kicked my ass, but the fact that Paradoxical Labyrinth does not consume stamina is extremely nice, and the same thing goes for any of the story mode hard stages. Even though they do give you additional rewards here, the fact that none of them consume stamina is great. So I've legitimately enjoyed my time with this, thus far at least. In regards to the event, Gradient of Souls, obviously, I liked Cherno, and I started the game with 4 days left on her banner, so it has been a little bit of a speed run here. I like the fact that the main story of the entire event did not require stamina to do, and it did give you rewards decently. I do like the fact that even if I was under-leveled, I was able to complete Abyss. Mind you, I think I was on par with about the normal story chapter, with my team being level 30 to 40, but I was still able to push into Abyss just because the enemies were the exact same and I could just pre-plan. Event shop. I've heard, unfortunately, that the logistics that usually are the best for the on-banner character are essentially limited in the sense they don't come back, which is a downside, but beyond that, I've legitimately enjoyed clearing out the shop. So I've had fun with the game. I don't personally like the Pokemon event. This is basically, it looks just like Pokemon. It feels and plays just like Pokemon. I don't necessarily enjoy it. Now, mind you, I think I would have enjoyed it if it was a tighter map, but the fact that I'm running around this huge city, it doesn't work to me. But I am a Genshin player, and I understand that my mindset has shifted entirely, and I'm enjoying this because of the aspect that this game is a third-person shooter as opposed to Genshin's combat system. If it was the exact same with something similar, I would probably get very bored. This is my roster of units. Cherno here, Frisha. I did get her Manifestation 1 just because she was my beginner banner pull, and then I lost 50-50 on Cherno's banner, and she came home again. Acacia, Cirrus, and so on. I am trying to figure out who I want to invest into. I got 5-star Life as just the selected operator. And it was quite nice, don't get me wrong, but I'm making the decision to find out, oh yeah, anyway, she was free, and she is free currently. But I am trying to figure out who I want to build in just as a supportive unit. I am still learning the stat distribution of this game. I only just recently learned that logistics, the first and secondary substat here, are determined by each copy of logistics you have. So you ideally would want, I think, attack percentage and, what is it? I think I have it somewhere here. Attack percentage and alignment index. Those are the main stats you'd ideally want, I think generally for DPS, but I don't know. So I'm still learning. But this does obviously give you something to go for. I think the downside of this logistics squad, at least for Cherno in particular, is that because these are, in a sense, limited, I'd have to continuously spend the event currency on these to get an ideal stat roll. So I'm just settling for at least one attack roll or alignment index, and then I'm going for U recovery energy, because why not? And crit damage, I don't understand how crit works in this game, so I don't want to build out too heavily for that aspect because, strictly speaking, I have no crit rate. I think I usually pair Cherno with a couple other supports, but I'm trying to figure out who's a good shielder, who's a good healer, and who I like the design of specifically, because I don't want to build out a character like Enya, for example, because I'm like, I don't like your design at all, but you heal. I would rather have a balance of the two. I will, in the future, be going for Etchel, because she's adorable. I will in the future be going for Makshir, the 5-star variation, because she's super cute. Acacia is okay, like the original 4-star is nice, but I don't like, she looks like so much older. I don't know how. I don't know why they did this. I don't like it. But overall, I'm having fun. I personally don't know why this game doesn't get as much coverage. I think that just for the fact that it's a third-person shooter, it does have a lot of potential regardless, and I think it could reach a wider audience, and I realistically think it should have. I've been running through this game with my friend, and yes, I do like Cherno, even though this is like an immense amount of ass just kind of being shown here. I'm not complaining. Even though I do and have only recently started, I've been running through this game with a friend, and it's been quite nice. I understand that early game we do have a lot of things we can kind of run through, And that has obviously warped our opinion on things thus far, because very simply put, we have so much that we can do. It's kind of in a position to where we don't really run out of content. And I think that's a benefit towards new players. I don't understand how this gets in late game, but the fact that I think it has a variation of something like integrated strategies, which is the paradoxical labyrinth, is nice because you can push into it continuously. The base system is quite fun, just on the strict notion that you can at least interact with characters a little bit more. And it's separated from the personal files, which are the equivalent to their own individual stories. Whereas the base stories are dependent on your relationship rank with the individual character, which you can either get via improving their room or taking them to combat. And for me, this has been a great experience. The difference in gameplay has been nice. I don't necessarily know if the game or how the game pushes you towards using a healer or defensive utility, just because as of right now, early game, they especially don't do that. I do like the concept of Ricochet. It just sucks that my favorite characters all use submachine guns, which are awful to deal with Ricochet on. U energy, which is essentially your ultimate, is in my opinion poorly explained, especially in the rate that you gain it, because some units feel like they gain it much quicker than others, which they probably do. But I don't know, I feel like some of the stats with this game aren't necessarily explained well enough for a new player to really get it without having to go to external sources, which don't get me wrong, I understand that can be an issue with most games. But I don't know, here it just feels kind of worse. And I think it feels worse because the game has a smaller community. Like, I would not have known the logistics kind of need to be re-rolled if you want an ideal stat line, and I also don't necessarily know how valuable crit is. And because the game has a smaller community, it is arguably harder to find this as opposed to something like Genshin, where you can find a guide on everything. But yes, this is fun. It's a nice experience. I would recommend it if you legitimately are just looking for a gacha to play. I will say that I think the PC aspect, whether it's on Steam or just via the official launcher, works better, or at least it's easier to play, but it is available on mobile. It's not available on PlayStation like Genshin and HSR, but you know, the fact that it's available on Steam is, in my opinion, a very big plus. Now, I will say the downside, in my opinion, for this game is these individual currency permits. To evaluate this, I want to look at the fact that we have the beginner banner, which I got a free shot in 4 pulls, which is why I haven't pulled. I still have like 40 left. But you have your standard banner weapon, which takes a different currency than your standard banner character, which takes a different currency than your limited weapon, which shares pity and your overall progress and currencies with the other limited weapons. But then you have your limited characters, which have their own individual currency. So your most universal currency will be Digicash. Digicash is essentially your equivalent to Primogems. But it kind of sucks that all of these take individual separate tickets to pull on. Now, you get these recruitment permits from strictly leveling up characters, or you can find the limited ones in the event shops, which once again, they're about 5 per event shop, I believe. And that is a nice bonus. And if you're going into the shop, you can either save your gold certifications to buy out the weapons. These are standard banner weapons in the future that are currently available. So you can ideally set a path for something like Stardust Memory if you like Life as a character, because it's a frost weapon she benefits greatly from. And then hypothetically, if you're in a pulse, you can either keep your path set to Stardust Memory or change it to another weapon, like hypothetically speaking, you're using someone like Frisha and you want to get Lava Bones for Frisha. Well, you can continue to pull on that or not. It's up to you. Realistically speaking, it only takes 2 copies of a weapon to do the equivalent of what is R5 in Genshin or S5 in something like Honkai Star Rail, which is nice. So you only need to realistically pull 1 copy of a character and 2 copies of a weapon to max them out. The reason why I say 1 copy of a character is that operators have manifestations, but these manifestations can be gained over time. If you're going into personal files, each day you can do this twice. This, at least for 5-star variations. For 4 stars, you can use your entire currency up here, which you get and that refreshes pretty consistently. What this means is that for 4 stars, you can constantly, once you have one, you can continuously, over time, slowly earn the equivalent of constellations on them as you do their personal stories. And once you've fully completed their personal stories, you can just click repeat over and over and over again. For 5 stars, you can only do it twice per day. And that manifests is about 6 manifestation points or shards each day. Now, if you're going over to the channel here, 6 shards has gotten me about this. So 1 progress section. So if I use it again, that's another progress section. And there's about, I believe, 12, if I'm roughly estimating it. 2, 4, 6, actually no, 8 maybe. I think it increases with each section, which is, you know, a thing. But the fact of the matter is you only need 1 copy of the character, 2 copies of the weapon, and they're maxed out, and you can earn this over time, means that you're not incentivized to pull constellations. which in my opinion is great. You can still pull constellations if you want to max them out day 1, but you can also just wait. Another aspect you have is neuronics, and I won't go in depth. I'll do a full review and aspect much later on, but neuronics are quite nice. These are, I thought originally it was a choose your build path scenario situation where you could only do like 2 or 4 of these, and hypothetically this would allow you to gear yourself more towards either damaging with your skills versus damaging with your on-field abilities or your supportive abilities, but no, you can get all of them. Which means that you have the ability to gear out a character with logistics and those primary substats. You have a character who can gear out with weapons, and I do think some weapons offer different utilities. For example, shield construction is good for shield-based characters. It doesn't provide them with any damage though, keep that in mind. Whereas if you're looking at other characters such as Alley Cat, it increases your U energy recovery by your entire squad, which is a benefit. Now I don't know how impactful this is versus something else, such as skill point energy cooldown, or just max HP and attack bonuses, but once again, it gives you some flexibility within the weapons, which I like a lot more. I think the downside is you can't get 4-star weapons if you pull in a character banner, but you know, that's dependent on you as an individual and what you choose to do. I, however, am having fun with Snowbreak. If any of you want to, you can add me, but I will continue to play this game and eventually will finalize my opinions into one full video and release that much later on. But if you yourself choose to play this game, well then feel free to add me. I desire more stamina, and I of course shall be seeing you next time.